My next guest is a very talented producer and songwriter who's worked with the likes of Lana Del Rey, Madonna, Britney Spears, Elle King, and countless others. He's an amazing artist in his own right, currently working under the name Baby FuzZ. I'm happy to have him join us. Welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So we were just chatting right before this conversation started about our proximity, and there's a lot that's been written about you, about having left the US and things like that. So how's quarantine? How are you? And where are you?
Quarantine is quarantine. I've been working on an album, and I had started working on an album before the pandemic started. And so it really, luckily for me, it didn't affect me that much. I was going to be in the studio anyways at this time. So yeah, I have been isolated, but that's pretty normal for me. I'm currently in the San Francisco area, kind of up about an hour north of San Francisco, near this place called Point Reyes, which is like a kind of like a national park type area. Just like holed up here in a cabin working on an album all summer. And,
when you told me that, I was like, you know what, that makes sense for someone like you. And a lot was written right after the 2016 election about how upset you were and that you moved to Canada. And I didn't think much was written about you afterwards. I know that your visa or your passport, or there was some issue that you couldn't stay for very long, so you had to move back to the US, so your whereabouts were unknown. I didn't realize you were literally an hour away from me right now.
Yeah, well, like I move around a lot, and I have been since around that time. I was up there for almost a year in Montreal, which is a pretty cool city. And it was kind of in response to the election, but it was also just for a variety of different personal reasons. So it was like, kind of a political thing, but also not really at the same time.
I just rattled off a high level bunch of names that you've worked with in the past, and your own music is just phenomenal. And I think you're definitely one of the most underrated artists out there. Where do you get your pop sensibilities or your sensibilities in finding melodies, and never mind lyrics, but just songs in general? Because man, you've got quite the ear.
Yeah, for melodies, I think I go to classical music, which I grew up on. That was my MO until I went to college. Really, I mostly played classical piano, and so great classical melodies that you would learn as a piano student, or going to the symphonies and operas. I was really into that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I spent a lot of time personally studying counterpoint, which is kind of like a musical term for the way melodies move and the way they are supposed to work from like a technical or mathematical standpoint, and which movements in the melodies kind of are the most pleasing to listen to. So there's kind of a science behind it. It's like kind of, for some people, like a dark magic, but it's actually quantifiable, like why melodies are catchy if you study them. And you can learn that if you go to study songwriting classes or go to school for these types of things. There's actually like ways to do it. It's not just kind of this gift that you get and are born with. It just takes a lot of work and practice and that kind of thing.
With the current social, political climate, we're in election season right now. How is this affecting new material?
I try not to be too didactic when I'm doing music, which is to say, I try not to be like, well, you should do this and we should be like this and be like, have a certain way about what I'm doing. But I try to do it in a way that's like poking fun at it, or being more, I guess, subtle in the ways that I'm approaching those types of issues. So yeah, the project is like really political and really social, but it's, a lot of other things too. That being said, the new album is kind of like definitely an environmentalist concept album, I would say. So like a lot of the songs have to do with expectations of what the future would be like, and then getting to the future and realizing like, whoa, this isn't exactly what I signed up for. And the way I kind of see it, the album in my head is like this like really messed up amusement park that's like, hey, welcome to our amusement park. It's so great. There's rides, and then you go in the amusement park and it's kind of up. Like things, you know, the rides are all twisted and broken, and the food is poison, and you know, it's kind of the way I see like the idea of the future and what it was supposed to be like. And now we're here, and it's kind of messed up. And so that's okay. You know, it's just like up to us to acknowledge that, first of all, which I think finally people are doing, and then change, you know, the direction for humanity and like make the world a place where people can live in 300 years, or it's not just going to like overpopulate and destroy itself and burn up, you know? Those are like questions that are easily answerable if we all just acknowledge them and like work toward that. So I think the album is pretty much summing that up in through a number of silly and over the top songs. Yeah. It's not like it's like a heavy album, like conceptually, but like the songs are not heavy. It's kind of like dark comedy in a way, which is Baby Fuzz as a project is. It's like there's serious moments, but overall it's kind of like absurd. And so each song is a bit different, which keeps it fresh for me and hopefully for the listener too. And so I don't really limit myself in genre. I would say generally for the new album, it's got kind of a heavier rock sound. So, you know, if you like My Chemical Romance back in the day, or if you're into kind of like those, it's kind of like emo arena rock type groups, there's some of that in there. And then there's just some like more subtle flavors too. But yeah, each song's a bit different.
You just mentioned how there's some of that arena rock in there, and the single that's out right now, Weekend Blues, certainly doesn't sound like My Chemical Romance.
No, yeah, that's more of like, I don't even know what that song is. That's just kind of like a weird random song that I don't know what it is. I don't think it's like, I really don't think it's going to catch on that well, because the genre is like, I have no idea what that genre is. It's just kind of like a weird alternative pop song with like mariachi horns on, and it's kind of emo. And so, but yeah.
Welcome to the future. I mean, it's an apropos title. And I think that, you know, once people hear this music and we really, you know, get the word out, that people are going to get it. And hopefully more people will gravitate toward what you're making right now. And I appreciate your time for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.